Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. If you find yourself watching this video, you're probably looking for your first guitar or your next guitar, and you're probably looking between two of the most popular Gibson models. That being the Gibson SG and the Gibson Les Paul. Both of these guitars are fantastic, so let's put them against each other and see how they fare. First, let me introduce each guitar. This is my 2019 Gibson SG Standard in Cherry Red. An interesting fact about this guitar is that it was made on Valentine's Day, which you can see by the serial number there. And the Les Paul that I will be using for this video is my absolute dream guitar. This is my 1979 Gibson Les Paul Custom in Tobacco Sunburst. This guitar is pretty much everything I could have ever asked for. This thing is absolutely beautiful. Look at the back there. That piece of wood they use for this back is gorgeous. The 70s aren't exactly known for the most consistent guitars, but I definitely got lucky with this one. Something to keep in mind for this video is I'm not exactly comparing these two guitars specifically. I'm just kind of comparing all SGs versus all Les Pauls. The first big difference you guys will notice is the price difference. A Gibson SG Standard will go for $1,800 new, while a Les Paul Standard, this is a custom, but a Les Paul Standard will go for $2,800 new. Now that's just for the standard models. There are a lot of different models with each. You have the customs, you have the Supremes, you have a whole bunch of different models throughout years and years of Gibson making guitars, so you're probably going to find an exact one that you like. And with that higher price tag of a Les Paul, that means these are a little bit more collectible, and that means you're probably going to have a better resale value on a Les Paul than you will with an SG. Now these guitars look almost nothing alike, however they're actually kind of constructed fairly similarly. The SG will sport a mahogany body, a mahogany neck, and two humbucking pickups. There's no binding along the side of the body of the SG, however there is neck binding. The Les Paul is constructed with a mahogany body. Most have a mahogany neck. This one is from the Norland era, which had maple necks, but most of them will have a mahogany neck and it will have a maple top. That maple top is being hidden from the side binding here. On these Norland guitars, you can see it has a really thick piece of binding right there, and that'll make it so you can't see maple top. However, on a newer Les Paul like this 2022, you could see the maple top right underneath the binding there because they use the thinner binding on the body right there in the horn. The next thing I want to talk about is how these guitars are weighted and balanced. The SG is known for being very light, hovering around 6 to 6.5 pounds on average, while the Les Paul is a complete monster. Les Paul is usually average from anywhere from 9 to 11 pounds. This one specifically is over 11.5 pounds. This thing is a boat anchor. My shoulder is getting tired just from lifting it like this. I'll tell you, taking a thumbnail picture of this where I had to hold out the guitars was very tiring trying to get the right shot. Because of the very different weights of the bodies will kind of lead you into two different problems that both of these guitars have. The SG is known for what's called headstock dive, and that's where if you're playing standing up or sitting down, the center of gravity is a little bit further this way than you'd want. So whenever you're sitting down and you let go of the body, you're not holding it, the headstock will come plunging towards the ground, and that's not very safe. Now Les Pauls, especially super heavy ones like this, will have the opposite problem, and that's where the center of gravity is too far this way, and if I let go, it wants to fall off my lap that way. However, if you have a Les Paul that's weight relieved, like this Epiphone Les Paul Traditional Pro here, you sit on your lap and it's balanced perfectly. Next, let's talk about comfortability. The Les Paul doesn't really have any comfort cuts of any kind. If you look on the sides here, it's pretty much just kind of a straight edge on either side, minus the carved top, but that doesn't really add much comfort. While the SG here is a much thinner guitar, it has that little carve right there for your arm to play nicely on, and it's very comfortable. I still wouldn't say Les Paul is an uncomfortable guitar to play, but I would definitely get comfortability to the SG. Now we can talk about the looks. In the looks department, which is also subjective, I think I'm personally going to give it to the Les Paul. The carved top that a Les Paul has, I think, is absolutely gorgeous, and that's just missing on the SG. Not only that, but this guitar is also an exception, but most Les Pauls will have a flame maple top, and flame maple is a gorgeous piece of wood. The SG is just aesthetically a more bare bones guitar, which is fine, it has a really cool shape, but the devil horns, that might be your style as well. Like I said, looks are subjective, but I personally think the Les Paul looks just a little bit better. Neither one of these guitars is exactly hard to play, but they both have the same scale length. However, the SG, the bridge is a lot higher up in the body, which shifts the neck up, and I think that makes it just different to play. This is where my hand likes to naturally rest whenever I'm playing the Les Paul. And this is where my hand likes to naturally rest whenever I'm playing the SG. So that means I have to kind of shift my wrist a little bit further forward. It's not the most comfortable. It's also not a big deal. It's just something that's slightly different between the two, but I think I think Les Paul is slightly more comfortable with the hand kind of sat a little bit further back, but that's just personal preference. It's what I'm more used to. Again, it's not a big deal. It's just a small difference. Another weird difference is how close the neck pickup is to the last fret. On the SG here, you have a lot of space, while on the Les Paul, you don't have nearly as much. That's just another playability thing. It doesn't really make a big difference, but it is something you're going to notice. Now, if I were to tell you what my least favorite thing about each of these guitars would be, it has to be the control layout on the SG and the upper fret access of the Les Paul. On the SG, everything right here is just kind of clammed together. It is pretty easy to accidentally hit a different knob whenever you mean to go for another one. Especially in a live situation where you kind of need to do things quickly, it can be a little difficult sometimes because everything there is pretty close together. It is a small guitar, so that kind of makes it hard for them to spread anything out. Another thing I don't like is how the output jack is on the front. SGs used to have them on the side, which I much prefer. However, with it being on the front, it does make everything right here even more crammed whenever you have, especially if it's not a right angle jack, if you have a wire coming right out here. That'll make things even harder to reach. I wouldn't say the pickup selector switch is in a bad spot. I've never messed up really by switching pickups in accident on this guitar. However, I have actually bumped another knob that I wasn't supposed to when I was playing live. Not a big deal, you just kind of go back and fix it, but it's just something you don't really want to have to do. You kind of want to focus on playing. However, the spacing and the control layout on the Les Paul I think is absolutely perfect. I think all the knobs are a great distance apart, so you're not going to accidentally knock any other one on accident. And with the pickup selector switch all the way up here, it does make it a little bit harder because sometimes if you want to change things on the fly, like back to back, you're going to have to go all the way up here and all the way down here. Are you probably going to do that in a live situation? Probably not, but it's just something to keep in mind. But I do actually really like having the pickup selector switch up here, and it does look super, super cool. And like I said, my least favorite thing about the Les Paul is the upper fret excess. With the shape and design of this guitar, you do have a big old heel joint here, and that can make it a little bit difficult to reach the upper frets. Can you make it happen? Yes. You just kind of have to open your hand up a little bit, and you can reach them. But it's not nearly as easy as it is on the SG. The SG has a really thin heel joint, which actually can be pretty fragile. However, it does just let you get right up. You can play the pickup if you needed to, just because of the way the double horn shape is. Well, alrighty, I think that's about the main comparison of these guitars. In conclusion, I don't really think you can go wrong with either. If you're on a tighter budget and you want to get almost everything a Les Paul can do, I would go with the SG. But if you have a little bit of extra money and you think the Les Paul is a better guitar, then get the Les Paul. Whatever one suits your needs the best and whatever one you like the most, just get that one. If I had to choose between the two, I'm a Les Paul guy, so obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I'm going to go with the Les Paul. But I'm fortunate enough to be able to own both, and I love both very, very much. So that about wraps it up for this video. Let me know in the comments which one you guys think sounds the best. If you guys liked this video, feel free to click like, and if you loved it and you want to see more content from me, make sure you guys subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.